Hi guys, welcome back to BEC preliminary course. In this class, we're going to talk about buying and selling. Now, buying is something that all of us do virtually every day. And we are exposed to all kinds of goods wherever we go. But have you ever thought about where these products come from? Now, let's take a look at some of the products that we may be using and tell me, what are they? Fantastic. Now let's check our answers together. Now the first picture shows an Adidas shoe. The second, a bottle of Dior perfume. The third, a Burberry coat. The fourth, a pair of H&M shoes. The fifth, a Gucci handbag. The sixth, a Puma hood. And the seventh, a Ralph Lauren t-shirt. And the last one, a Zara coat. Now, where did these products come from? Well, you may refer to Baidu or Google for more information with products that you are not that familiar with, okay? Now, what did you learn from this part? And are you surprised by any of the information here? So apparently, the brands that we have talked about are foreign brands, right? And most of them are European brands, the brands that are from Europe. And also, most of them are having a good sale in China. Now, tell me, are you wearing any of these brands? Are they available in your area? Now, just now we said these brands are foreign brands, yet they're having a good sale in China. And this could not be done without international business, right? So it has to do with international business. And I'm sure some of you, or a lot of you, are doing international business right now. Now, let me ask you this question. What does your company do? Is your company making something, producing something, or selling something? And also, is your business international? Do you deal with customers or suppliers abroad? Good job. And as I said, I believe a lot of you find your answers to these questions positive. Say you are doing international business, and this is part of the reason why you joined this course in the first place. Say if you are in this line, 在这个行业 in this line, then I believe you will be interested in the topic that we're about to discuss later on. Now, let me share with you a story that you might have heard of. Here, his name is John Newman. He is the head of a clothing company in Nordland. And Nordland is an industrialized country, 一个已经实现了工业化的国家。And let me introduce the second person here. Say his name is Antonio Silva, head of a clothing company in another country, Sudonia. And Sudonia is an industrializing country, 一个工业化国家. And today's story is about the two of them. Let's take a look. These are two sides of a story. Now let's first take a look at John Newman's story. He said, "We have higher costs than many other clothing-producing countries, and we can't compete with their prices." So according to this sentence, producing clothing in Nordland, the industrialized country, would cost more than many other countries, right? And the problem is some countries are dumping. Dumping means selling something, and in this case, it's selling clothing for less than it costs to produce. 是指一国或者说一个地区的生产商或者说出口商以低于其国内市场价格或低于成本价格将商品卖到其他国家。OK, dumping 倾销。那面对国外出口商的 dumping， 来自工业发达国家的 John Newman 会怎么做呢？ So here they have asked their government to impose tariffs on imported clothing. 好，这里呢有个动作是 impose on， 那么 impose on 呢是表示征收，那么征收什么呢？征收关税。OK, tariffs. Impose tariffs on imported clothing. Okay? Now, in order to protect their own industry, John Newman from Nordland is asking his government to use the anti-dumping rule. Anti-dumping 也是我们在读这个经济或者说商务类新闻当中会接触的比较多的一个字眼哈。Anti-dumping 反倾销。Now, what would be the reaction of the clothing exporter? And how did they protect their own interest? Here, let's take a look. So Antonio said, "We feel that Nordland is engaging in unfair trade practices. From our point of view, it's just protectionism." 好，很显然哈，这个来自工业化国家的 Antonio Silva 所代表的呢是一个 exporter， 是个出口商。那么他觉得哈 Nordland imposing tariffs on him or on their country 的做法呢是 unfair 的，是不公平的贸易行为。用国际贸易的术语来说呢，这就是贸易保护主义 protectionism。他认为哈，既然已经全球化了，我们经济贸易啊什么都已经全球化了，那就应该保证贸易自由 free trade。那进口国政府呢就不能通过设置各种贸易壁垒来保护自己的利益。Now, let me ask you this question. Have you or has your company ever been affected by things like this? If so, how? Now, in today's class, we're going to talk about an article on a situation that's similar to this. But before we do that, let's familiarize ourselves with some words that are frequently used in international business. Now here, let's take a look at the list of words on the screen. So tick the ones that you know and check the others in the dictionary. Great job. Now let's check your understanding of these words by doing this task. And I'm going to give you 1.5 minutes to do this. Now let's check your answers. Now here, let's read the article about imported clothes and find 6 of the words from the article. Great. Let's check your answers. Now here, let's read the article in detail. First of all, let's take a look at the headline of this article. And tell me, is this headline about fact or example? It's about a fact, right? It's something that is actually happening. 好，我们在阅读报纸的时候呢，一般不会整版逐字逐句的去看哈，没有那么多时间。那么通常我们的做法呢是先看 headlines。那如果觉得标题吸引眼球，是我们自己感兴趣的话呢，那就会做深度阅读。那么读英文期刊、英文报纸呢也是如此哈。那么通过阅读这个 headline， 你可以知道这篇文章要讲什么吧 ？Right？So the keywords in this headline of this article is, what are the keywords? Okay, the first one, crisis, right? So crisis is happening. And also import ban. Import ban is also keywords here. 好，那么其实啊，通过阅读这个标题哈，我们就大致知道了这篇文章它将要讲什么了，对不对？And here, let's read the first paragraph and find out what it says about crisis and import ban. Okay, let's take a look. So the first keyword, crisis, and it says the fashion industry in Europe is facing its biggest crisis in recent history. So here, 用了个最高级哈, is facing the biggest crisis. So the problem, the situation is quite serious, is quite severe. Why? Why is it happening? Why is this problem happening? And here it says about the import ban. Following the introduction of import controls in June by the European Trade Commissioner, Peter Mandelson. Let's take a look at the word following. Okay, so something happened. The biggest crisis happened following the introduction of something. Which is to say the crisis happened because of, right? Because of the introduction of the import controls, of the import ban. 好，第一段的一头一尾哈，就直接将这个事件的背景讲清楚了。那么中间这一部分没有带下划线的内容是做什么的呢？好，我们通过阅读会发现啊，那么中间这一部分内容呢，其实是举例子，对不对？它举例子来说明这个 crisis， 这个 fashion industry in Europe 所 face 的 crisis， 它大到什么程度了？既然你在第一句话说了 is the biggest in recent history， 那么有多大，有多严重？我们通过举例的方式来印证，来说明这个问题的严重性。Now here, let's take a look at this part of the paragraph and decide if the statement below is true or false. The statement is, clothing retailers such as H&M, Zara, and C&A would probably have to be closed down at Christmas. Is it true or false? Apparently, this statement is true, right? So in this article, it says, clothing retailers such as H&M, Zara, and C&A could have empty shops at Christmas. So here, could have empty shops is similar to the saying of would probably have to be closed down。那么 close down。close down 呢是表示关门的意思。Why the clothing retailers there would probably have to be closed down at Christmas? 那么照理来说呢，在西方圣诞节前后应该是零售业的销售旺季，对不对？有点类似于比如说中国的双11或者说春节前后。But this year probably they would have empty shops. They would have to be closed down. Why? Because Chinese imports are stuck in European ports. The phrase be stuck in means be detained or delayed in. 好，货呢被卡在那儿了卡在了欧洲的各大港口。那这个词组呢，在我们商务英语，尤其是经贸英语当中用的还是比较多。比如说，你的客户给你发一份邮件，跟你说，怎么搞的？我们这批货物怎么还没到那么你查了一下呢，你发现，这批货物不是没有发出，不是没有从你们的 warehouse 中发出，而是被卡在了，比如说卡在海关了，或者说卡在哪个 port 了。那么你回邮件的时候就可以说 The cargo got stuck in port. Okay, got stuck in. Now let's read the second part of the first paragraph and find the words or phrases that mean be stuck in and been. Okay, let's check your answers. At the moment, millions of Chinese brass, sweater, and t-shirts are sitting in customs warehouses around Europe. So here, are sitting in is another way to say be stuck in. And also the word controls, has similar meaning with been. 好，我们在写文章的时候呢，也是尽量的使我们的词汇更加多样化好，用不同的词汇来表达同一个意思。那么这里要提出一点就是，我们在标题当中呢，进口限制用的是 been。但是呢，在正文当中呢，一方面呢，它是避免用 been， 避免重复的用 been。那另外一方面呢，它是用的这个单词呢是更长一些import controls。那这一点呢，其实是跟标题的这个特点也是有关的。那么新闻的标题呢，或者说文章的标题呢，尽量的是短小精悍。Okay, that's all for the first paragraph. 好，第一段我们说已经直接将事件的背景讲清楚了。那么还通过举例呢，给读者一个更加清晰的 picture. So now we know that the EU fashion industry is facing a problem. So what comes next? It's about the reaction of people involved. Now let's read this paragraph in detail and answer this question. According to the spokeswoman, was the impact of import controls positive or negative? Great is negative, right? Let's take a look at some keywords. Many small companies are suffering because they cannot sell Chinese imports, and people could lose their jobs, would cause job losses, and small retailers are facing huge losses. Okay, so all these words are negative, right? 我们平常在读一个比较复杂一点的文字的时候呢，其实也是可以通过这个作者所用的一些词汇，它的词汇用的是褒义的居多呢，还是贬义的居多，是正面的居多呢，还是负面的居多，来推测来 infer 作者的态度是怎么样的。那么这里呢，我们注意观察一下这段话当中出现到的两个词，一个是 lose their jobs， 那么做的是动词，那么 huge losses loss 注意一下发音loss， 那么做的是名词，很大的损失Okay, now let's read the next paragraph and find the words that mean control, hire, to fill with an excess. Let's take a look. So control. The word restrictions has the same meaning with control, right? 同样是我刚刚所说的一篇文章当中尽量用多样化的语言来阐述同一个意思。那么这样呢，可以增加你文章的可读性。那么我们平常在做口语表达的时候也是如此。那这一点呢，就是要求大家要丰富自己的语汇，平常多看、多听、多积累。 Now the second word, hire. So the word employ has the same meaning as hire, right? So these countries hire many people in the textile industry. And here the word flood means to fill with an excess. Flood 做名词的时候呢，大家都比较熟悉哈，洪水，对不对？那么记住 flood 也可以做动词，表述呢是泛滥这种状态，或者说这样一种动作，有点像比喻哈，非常形象。Now here, let's take a look at the question here. According to this paragraph, was the impact of import control positive to Southern European producers or not? Great. So, yeah, the keywords are, on the other hand. 好，另一方面，那么跟上面这一个 paragraph 表达的意思呢，应该是不一样的，对不对？那么上一个 paragraph 我们知道这些人呢是反对做这种 import control、import restrictions。那么 on the other hand，还是有些人支持这种做法的。So the impact of import control was positive to them, right? 那么这个问题关键在于这种 import control，进口管制或者说进口限制，到底是有益于哪些人呢？是 Southern European producers 吗？OK， 我们看一下文章当中所举的这几个例子，一个是 Italy、Spain and Portugal， 也是南欧的国家哈 ，Southern European producers。那么从这里呢，我们可以推测这句话是正确的。那么这个给我们一个启示，就是我们平常在读书在读东西的时候呢，其实也需要有这种概括能力。作者举了很多例子。那么你需要有这种能力呢，把它给概括起来。And also, let's take a look at the word in favor of. So these Southern European producers are in favor of import restrictions. 这是关键字啦。In favor of means in support of, approving. They are improving the import restrictions, right? Okay, here, let's take a look at the last question on this paragraph.Is this statement true or false? Chinese clothes are cheaper than clothes produced in Europe. It's true or false? Apparently it's true, right? Here the last sentence. They don't want Chinese clothing to flood the market because they can't compete with Chinese prices. In other words, they can't produce clothes at the prices the Chinese charge, right?OK， 如果你是读者的话，那么你读到这里了你会感觉好，你知道问题是什么了问题发生了，那么这个问题的利害关系也分析清楚了，你知道对哪些人是有益的，哪些人是不欢迎这种变化的。那么现在呢，很自然我们就想看看这个问题呢会得到怎么样的解决。So this is what the last paragraph is about, right? Now here, let's read the last paragraph.And decide if this statement is true or false. Mr. Mendelsohn is taking a decision on the crisis this week. So this one is false, right? And here we have two hints. The first one, the first sentence, Mr. Mendelsohn is in a difficult position. In a difficult position, 那么是属于进退两难的这个境地哈。第一句话就直接点明了。他自己也觉得好像是在一个 dilemma 是进退两难，不知道怎么解决才好，比较棘手。不仅如此呢 meanwhile 他还有另外一重压力，什么压力呢？ The warehouses are filling up with winter season fashions which nobody will want next winter. 居然是影响到了这个 fashion 界。那么 fashion 界呢跟一般的这个行业还不一样，它是讲时间点的，你错过了这个潮流，那么明年它就可能不流行了，那么你这批货可能就卖不出去了，雪上加霜，对不对？我们这里看一下进退两难的境地呢，我们除了说 in a difficult position， 我们通常呢还有很多其他的说法，比如说 be in a dilemma, okay? So Mr. Mendelsohn is in a dilemma. Or we can say he is stuck between a rock and hard place.And that's all for this article. Now here, let's do a speaking task. What have you learned about this import ban and its impacts? Try retelling the story, okay? So there are some keywords and key ideas that I want you to mention in your retelling. First one, biggest crisis, introduction of import ban, negative impact, positive impact, a dilemma for Mr. Mendelsohn. I encourage you to do it, practice and speak up, and also try share your stories in 班级讨论区。一起来做个小练习吧。Now here, an international radio station is broadcasting an interview about import controls. So here, let's listen to the radio interview and decide whether each of the two speakers is for or against the import controls. Guys, are you ready? Here we go then.
The crisis over clothing imports is still hitting the headlines, and we spoke to some of the people involved. In Portugal, João da Silva owns a small factory in Aveiro.
Look, I can't see any problem with these import controls. The European Union should protect European industry, people like me and my factory workers. We can't produce clothing at the prices the Chinese charge. I employ a small number of people, it's true, but they depend on me. Where else could they work around here? My message to Mr. Mandelson is this. Stop the Chinese imports. Support European producers.
But it's a different message from the retail clothing chain Tulip. Listen to what Dagmar Rasmussen has to say.
We in the retail trade really think we should import garments from China, or from Malaysia, or from any country that can supply us at a good price. Why should the European Union tell us where and how to do business? We are not at all happy with this situation. Our shops could be almost completely empty next week. What are we going to say to our customers? The European Trade Commissioner should act at once and permit the clothes to leave the warehouses and to stock our shops. Really, this can't go on.
Now here, after listening to the interview for the first time, now we might have got the idea that the first speaker is for, right? It's for the import control, which means he's in favor of, he approves the import control, whereas the second speaker is against the import control, right? 好，我们刚刚听了一遍这个 interview 哈，我们总体感觉它的结构跟我们刚刚所阅读的这篇文章的结构是类似的，对不对？那么首先呢，这个 presenter 这个radio interview 的主持人哈，这个 presenter 呢他是把这个故事的背景介绍了一下，已经有这个 crisis， 对不对 ？Because of the import controls。那么接下来呢，他采访了 two speakers, two people that are involved. And here, let's listen to the first part of the interview one more time and correct the mistakes in the sentences below. Okay, guys, are you ready? Here we go.
The crisis over clothing imports is still hitting the headlines, and we spoke to some of the people involved. In Portugal, João da Silva owns a small factory in Aveiro.
Look, I can't see any problem with these import controls. The European Union should protect European industry, people like me and my factory workers. We can't produce clothing at the prices the Chinese charge. I employ a small number of people, it's true, but they depend on me. Where else could they work around here? My message to Mr. Mandelson is this. Stop the Chinese imports. Support European producers.
Okay, now let's check your answers. 好，那么这部分的核心意思就是说呢，如果一个公司太依赖于进口，或者进口太多了，那么必然会冲击到他们本国的一些产业，本国的一些制造业，对不对？那么这一点呢，也是 the first speaker 想要表达的意思了。Alright, now let's listen to the second part of the interview one more time and correct the mistakes in the sentences below. Ready? Here we go.
But it's a different message from the retail clothing chain Tulip. Listen to what Dagmar Rasmussen has to say.
We in the retail trade really think we should import garments from China, or from Malaysia, or from any country that can supply us at a good price. Why should the European Union tell us where and how to do business? We are not at all happy with this situation. Our shops could be almost completely empty next week. What are we going to say to our customers? The European Trade Commissioner should act at once and permit the clothes to leave the warehouses and to stock our shops. Really, this can't go on.
Now here, let's check your answers. Alright, so the second speaker represents the retailers, right? The retailers are against the import controls because they might face empty shops at Christmas. Okay, very good job. And if there is still something that you are not so sure about, you can try rate the script by clicking the button on the screen. Great job. Here, let's practice your speaking. So H&M buys 30% of their clothing from China, and 17% of shoes sold in UK are imported. Here, I'd like you to think about why a European company decides to import goods. And here, I'd like you to think about this question. After thinking about it, you can try refer to the answers. "一起来做个小练习吧。Okay, guys, I think that's all for today's class. Let's quickly wrap it up. So today we dealt with international business. We talked about some famous international brands, and also we talked about some impacts that EU import ban might have for different kinds of people. Okay guys, let's call it a day, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again in the next lesson. Bye!